What if your boss came to your desk Thursday afternoon and said, Friday will be your last day. Your services are no longer required. What runs through your mind? Oh my God, how am I going to support my family? What am I going to do? My resume isn't current. Do you start to panic? What if you could change that response? Dennis Waitley says we all have responsibility. That means that we have the ability to respond. Robert Scheinfeld, the author of The Invisible Path to Success, says that when something happens, two thoughts run through our mind. What does this mean, and how should I respond? What does this mean, and how should I respond? Bob goes on to say that we usually react on autopilot. We have learned things by watching other people, such as our friends, our family, possibly even TV. And we respond based on these reactions that we've stored in our mind. But what if we turned off the autopilot? We could begin to choose different responses. We could begin to change our lives. So let me ask you again. What if your boss came to you Thursday afternoon and said, Friday will be your last day? How many of you responded, this is great, thank you, what an opportunity. Now I can do what I want. 30 years ago, I was working as a secretary. More specifically, a temp secretary. I would have temporary assignments, and some of them would be as short as a week, like when I worked for the Wall Street Journal. Others could be as long as 3 months, like when I worked for Roadway, the trucking company. Typically, on a Friday afternoon at the end of the assignment, I would call up the agency and I'd ask them where I was going to be working on Monday. They would give me a new assignment. And I had been able to work steadily for more than a year with this procedure. One Friday afternoon in June of 1976, I called the agency and I asked them where they were going to send me next week. They said they didn't have an assignment for me. Don't panic. I had a second agency I often called, and I called them to see if they had a job for me. They said they didn't have any assignments for anybody. What does this mean, and how should I respond? My response was, what am I going to do? And then it struck me. I could now look for a full-time job and spend 8 hours a day doing that instead of working for somebody else. See, I'd been wanting to get a permanent full-time job for a long time, but I was a very dedicated worker, and as long as I was doing these temporary assignments, I would embrace them, and I wouldn't go out looking for a job on my own. Now, I was going to have the time to do it. I decided that I needed to assess my situation. I was a secretary, making $5,000 a year. I had a friend who'd gotten into sales, and I noticed something about him. He left for work after I did. He came home from work before I did, and he made a whole lot more money than I did. And I decided I can do that. Now, I mentioned I was a secretary. I had no sales experience. I decided I'm going to get this job in sales, and I also decided that I wanted to earn $10,000 a year with a company car and a business card. Do you think that I set my goals too high, going from $5,000 a year to $10,000 a year? Well, within 3 months, I landed a job with Rubbermaid. Amongst 250 other job applicants, making $10,800 a year with a company car and a business card. I thought, maybe there's something to this goal setting after all. Now that I'd achieved a goal, and I knew the goal setting worked, I immediately set another new goal. I decided that I was going to make 10 times my income in the next 10 years, and 10 times more than what I'd made as a secretary. So that means that within 10 years, I wanted to be making $50,000. And I'm pleased to tell you that I achieved that goal as well. Do you think that I would have been able to achieve that, landing that job with Rubbermaid, had I not set a goal? Had I not turned off my autopilot and chosen my response? Do you think that I would have been able to achieve 10 times my income in 10 years from what I'd been making as a secretary if I had not planted the seeds along the way to influence my choices? Unforeseen events happen to us every day of our lives. How do you react to them? Why not change your life? Turn off the autopilot. Choose responsibility. Pause and think, what does this mean and how should I respond? And then set a goal. So when your boss comes to you Thursday afternoon and says, Friday will be your last day, what are you going to do?
I got a lot to give them.